Hey everybody, I am trying Facebook Live from Zoom for the first time, so forgive me if there's any technical glitches. I wanted to talk a little bit today about the difference between sleep and rest. So sleep and rest are not the same thing. There's overlap, but they definitely have different functions in our life, and they're two separate and necessary nutrients for our nervous system. And what made me want to talk about this was somebody really close to me was experiencing a really bad headache, and they said, "Oh man, I just have such a bad headache." And I said, and they had been like working hard all day. And I said, "Well, why don't you just, have you just tried resting? Just take a little rest, like 5 or 10 minutes." And they said, "Well, why would I need to do that? I slept for 8 hours last night." And I just I said, "Well, that's not the same thing as resting." And they were like, "Really?" And so that prompted this explanation. So the big difference between sleep and rest is that rest is something that we do consciously and periodically throughout the day in order to maintain a healthy equilibrium in our nervous system. Sleep is a necessary biological function that has to happen, at the end of our day. Um, and it's usually, for most people, um, a super unconscious process. We just barrel towards the end of our day, we get everything done that we need to get done, and then we crash into bed and lights out. Now, I know easier said than done. Not some people have difficulty sleeping. And what I will say to you is that if you have difficulty sleeping, it is likely that you're not resting enough during your day. And by resting, I do not mean sleeping during the day, like taking a nap, although that is one form of conscious resting. But I mean consciously slowing down and taking moments of pause during your day. It can be 2 minutes, it can be 5 minutes, it can be 10 minutes. But the difference is that it's conscious. And there's some important components to rest. Um, so, uh, like sitting down at the end of your day when you're exhausted and turning on the TV or the podcast or um, the the radio or the stereo or something, um, that could be considered relaxing in a way, just leisure, but it's not supremely restful. Rest happens when we simplify the input into our senses. Okay, so rest can be as simple as closing the eyes for a period of time, right? That is a massive simplification of the input into our nervous system. Rest happens in quiet. Okay, so if you are consciously resting, it's good to not have it does not involve watching something, listening to something. Um, although it could be argued that very, very soothing ambient sound could be restful. That's a real case by case thing. Um, and in general, just being still. Okay. And I know that it's not always easy to be still, but I guarantee you that no matter how frenetic your life is and no matter how busy your mind is, there could be 1 minute of having the body still. It doesn't matter if your mind isn't still. We just give the body permission to rest. You can sit, you can lie down, you can just uh, stand and pause, maybe close your eyes or gaze at something beautiful in nature. just stand and just receive. So there's basically a few simple aspects to rest that make it conscious, right? But we make the choice to do this pause during our day. We find a way to be still in the body, and we simplify our sensory input in some way. That could just be by making the body still, because just doing that is a lot. But it oftentimes involves closing the eyes or just being consciously quiet. And then the practice is just to allow ourselves to be there. Okay, this is sometimes the trickiest part, because this is where messages of busyness and urgency show up in our mind, or guilt, or something like this. Something shows up to tell us why we can't, why we shouldn't, what else there should be happening, all these kind of things, this pressure to not be resting. And I want you to think of it maybe like if you were to take a bath, okay? And let's say you took the time to set this nice bath, or maybe some people don't like baths, so let's think about something that's more universal, like having a meal. Okay, you take this time to make this beautiful meal, and you set this beautiful table, and you've gathered everything you need, maybe loved ones with you, and you're all sitting down to this beautiful meal, and you sit down and you're ready to just eat this incredible meal and really just enjoy, and the phone rings. Okay, are you going to jump up and answer that phone? Because why? It's highly unlikely that it's a life or death emergency on the end of that line. So everything can wait. And I guarantee you that no matter how crazy your life is, believe me, I've had times where I've had, nothing but stuff going on. But there's always 1 minute. And if there's 1 minute, there's probably 2 minutes. And if there's 2 minutes, there's probably 5 minutes. And if there's 5 minutes, there's probably 10 minutes. But just do something consciously to rest. And what this does is rest is literally food for your nervous system. The nervous system eats this rest like a vitamin, and it starts to calm the whole nervous system, which involves all of the chemistry of your body, your hormones, your neurotransmitters, your blood chemistry. All of this responds to conscious rest. And this then follows you through your day. If the nervous system is restful, then when you go to move, you have that much more energy, creativity, focus. And when you go to finally sleep at the end of the day, you're not trying to unwind all the things that happened all day in that moment. That's where the brain starts to scramble. If we've paused and released throughout the day, then the evening is much easier. Sleep comes much more easily and much more deeply. So there's so many more things I could say about restfulness as a way of life. And if this is resonating with you, and you're one of those people who really just barely has any time, but you just know so deeply that you need this type of nourishment in your life, I encourage you to check out my Nourishing Ojas course that I have online right now. It's an 8-week course that's totally self-paced, and it consists of little 10-minute practices each day. And it's actually even simpler than that, because what I've done is I've broken it down into weeks. And each week, at the beginning of the week, you're given a 10-minute practice. And it's just that same 10-minute restful practice. It's not yoga asana or anything like that. It's restful. Okay, so it's not movement based, but it is physically based. And you just are invited to do that same 10-minute practice each day for a week. And there's a contemplation that goes with it. and there is a longer practice that's given if you have time. But each week you get a new 10-minute practice, and each of these practices takes you deeper and deeper into nourishing rest. And by the end of the 8 weeks, you have this whole toolkit to rehabilitate your nervous system. And this is so foundational to your health and well being. And I made it specifically for people who are just fried, overwhelmed, busy, at the end of their ropes, have, you know, nothing but obligations pulling at them, and just need something simple but really deep and meaningful and I was going to say edible. Like you really can do this. It's not overwhelming. It's not intellectual. It is total nourishment. And there's really um, no time like right now when we're in our um, stay at home again and winter and maybe the feeling of a real bummer of not having the holidays. And we've got this unique chance right now in this shelter of these dark days as we get down to the longest night of the year. Such a good time to really constructively rest. And what will happen is, if I promise you, if you take the time to constructively rest now, uh, in as we get out of winter, you will have such a renewed energy. You'll be like the little plants just springing out of the ground. Whereas if you spend too much energy during this season, you don't take the time to replenish like all of nature is doing right now, it will be harder to summon that upward and outward movement as we get up and out of winter. And so it's kind of the same, like it's this micro macro thing, right? So just like restfulness during your day helps you sleep at night, restfulness during the winter is kind of pulling in, helps you later on, right? There's different cycles that we nourish as we incorporate rest as a constructive practice in our life. So I hope this has been helpful. And I encourage you to reach out if you have any questions. If this did resonate with you, I always appreciate comments, and it really helps me know that what I'm sharing is useful. And yeah, if you have any questions about the course, reach out. There's information on the Ojas Yoga Center website, and also I'll include a link in the comments once I get off the live. So stay well. Give yourself some constructive rest today, and I'll see you soon. Lots of love.